these Pekarims of the world. I guess that is still left up, and now with things like the Poppy shifting back into the meta, I think it could open up some interesting options for Blaber.
And we have seen things like the Skarner come through as a counter pick to the Poppy. Don't know if that's going to be the exact direction here. Of course, a bit of a specific. The Kalista. I think in the beginning of the tournament, very much a first rotation ban, but as we've seen more and more solo lanes and top sides prioritized, Aphelios notwithstanding, she's been making it through to the second round of bans before still getting banned away.
And oftentimes actually falling entirely through the draft. She is going to be banned away here against Viper, who didn't find success on it yesterday, but he's a fantastic Kalista player just in general, would fit the composition quite nicely, and not going to be able to play that Lucian Nami, so we're not going to get a run back of the Fnatic draft. There's Xin Zhao being considered for Blaber, definitely a pick that can influence the early game. You're going to be very happy about that if you're a C9 fan.
And it's also something that can work well in skirmishes later on, right? Throw out the ultimate. Going to be hard to be able to lock him down, get damage on him. It's going to be able to provide peel for both Jensen and Berserker in team fights.
Disengage too, going to be pretty important with that Crescent Guard, with the fact that EDG are already presenting a lot of ways, you know, a lot of things that they want to get out of their fight. But Viper is going to lock away the Jinx. Jinx, Thresh to be locked in here potentially for EDG. Meiko going to bring that one out right after Carrier picked it in the game before.
And EDG saying, well, scaling so far has looked pretty good in the tournament. We're going to just follow that. Jinx coming back here again. Meiko going to be able to provide a lot of innate safety, and the front to back from EDG already looks incredible. If you can get to the 5v5s, you can have the Jinx with the range combined with Azir. It becomes really hard to find backline access, and especially with that Kench lock-in, I think C9 really gonna have to get Fudge ahead early.
Yeah, 100%, because, right, I feel like we're seeing things like the Jinx pivoted into not only for scaling, but you hit on it a little bit, the range. This brings us back to Spring Split, where it's like, okay, Jinx, you're able to outrange the Aphelios, you're gonna outrange the Viktor later on as well. They're gonna have an incredibly strong front to back. For the side of C9, I feel like you're also going to be relying not only on getting Fudge ahead, but also abusing the fact that Aphelios is a bit of a better mid-game with things like the Gale Force to just try and find that outright burst. And of course, having the Xin Zhao setting up for that well with the early pressure it can provide.
Yeah, this is definitely looking like it could be interesting as the game goes on. The push that you're going to have in the early game, especially pre-6 for the Viktor, should be able to give Blaber some avenues to get around that jungle. But I'm worried, like you guys are talking about when it comes to that late game. Jinx Azir is something that we from the LCK know a lot about, thanks to a lot of players really defaulting to both of those picks. We've seen them used early game and late game in a lot of those compositions. But EDG, it just looks so standard, comfortable, front to back, it just does its job.
The thing is, that's exactly how it looked yesterday for EDG coming out of draft. Solid across the board, not a lot of weaknesses, the scaling was there, and that's why, you know, a lot of C9 fans in the crowd, I feel good for them going against EDG because EDG struggled against teams that were looking to push the pace in the early game. That's why I felt like teams like Top Esports and JDG were able to get the better of them. So with Cloud9 having agency in this draft, if they can find those leads, they can snowball this game.
And we are just about ready to hop onto the Rift for game number 4 of the day. Cloud9 trying to bounce back off yesterday's loss. EDG trying to do exactly the same thing. Of course, they've had slow starts in the past as well. And our world champions from last year really wanting to find some success now. They'll have to go through C9 to do it. Here we are.
And looking at the early game, I mentioned earlier, I would love to see some attention paid to Fudge. I think that looking at the rest of the map, it can be quite hard, especially as long as summoners are still up to get a good angle on either Viper or Meiko or on Scout. So trying to get Flandre behind, trying to make sure that Fudge actually is able to leverage the matchup, unlike yesterday where I don't even think it was Fudge's Fiora's play specifically, it was more how the team played around it and how they kept opting in the team fights with a Fiora, and they weren't really in a position to get anything out of that.
Yeah, and especially, it's just because both drafts do look pretty slow in the early game, right? That, for me, it's a lot about setting Fudge up and then transition that is Meiko.
Yeah, Hook already connecting here. Just sending a message more than anything else here for Meiko. Not going to go over that wall, don't think.
Which, probably for the best.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Yeah, don't start throwing this one away early on. But then looking at the early game for the side of EDG, I feel like a lot should just be on JJ looking to shadow early. You can try and punish bot lane in terms of trying to get something off on the Tahm Kench and make sure that these plays are able to come through with the Thresh. Yeah. But then it's a lot about once that level 6 comes online and then utilizing the fact that Scout has the ability to, again, take Jensen's flash and just kind of look to play make on repeat.
Yeah, we're seeing already that ADG playing pretty aggressively here towards the bottom side. Of course, this is a bit of an age-old matchup, the old Aphelios into the Jinx, something that we haven't had to talk about for quite some time because we've been stuck in Zeri Sivir purgatory for quite some time. Thankfully, we are now out of it and back to an old purgatory that we used to deal with many moons ago. Meiko going to miss his first hook. Can't hit all of them. And C9 going to have to now deal with ADG pushing underneath their turret.
Yeah, all comes full circle. We went from a spring with just these two champions to a summer with just Zeri and Sivir. And I guess now we're back to the Jinx and the Aphelios. Looking at the pathing here, have opposite pathing. So Blaber making his way towards the top side of the map, whereas JJ, as you're saying, at least in the early game, not going to be able to keep track. As far as I'm aware, neither team got a lot of intel as to which jungler started where, but EDG gonna get the crash here, and with JJ there as well, I think they're gonna feel very, very safe to keep the pressure rather up on Berserker and Zven.
And I think it should be expected, right, for both teams about where jungles do want to path. I mean, for C9, I think very clearly wanting to play up towards that top side of the map, and EG having those pick tools down towards bot side, so we are just going to end up trading scuttles, and I think a lot of it's going to come down to if either side lane wants to go for the punish.
There we go. Cool guys don't look at explosions. And some shellfish for Blaber. So very happy is the C9 jungler. JJ also going to pick one up for himself. His Scout could be in trouble. Blaber trying to get in there, but thankfully some shifting sands are going to be available there, and Scout makes it out just fine. JJ not even needed, as Death Ray doing some work here, as Jensen is making sure he keeps the pressure up onto Scout.
And I do at least really like that Blaber is looking to use these opportunities, only having his crowd camp up, so not too much available. Look for the play mid. Scout, of course, able to get out of there. And if you can try and set Jensen up for a back, considering he does have that mana bar low, and then come back to lane and again, kind of assert that dominance with the E, get the push going, and really open up Blaber to look for options in terms of controlling either side of the river.
And with how low action thus far we've been, I wonder what we're going to see in terms of setup around the early objectives. First Drake coming up soon, and I do remember Lyric talking to both you and Dagda a lot about how much the LPL prioritizes the early Drake, arguably much more so than another team, and I wonder whether that's going to be the case here for EDG as well, because while I think that they have a pretty easy way of finding priority in a lot of their lanes, actually winning an early skirmish against the power of something like Xin Zhao can be quite tough.
Yeah, I think it will be quite hard. For EDG, I think it's about getting that vision down, spotting where Blaber is, and then using that prio coming out from your bot lane 2v2. But you can see C9 not going to want to let that happen. I already like that they're hovering towards mid and trying to cement some control bot lane themselves.
Yeah, Berserker getting a bit of gravitum onto Viper there, but the backup not quite arriving in time to get anything done. I'm glad that you mentioned the Dragon, gentlemen. Of course, C9, another team that does very, very much enjoy killing dragons. They did a lot of it during the summer split, so we'll see who's going to be able to get their hands on it. But like you say, I think it's going to be a bit of slow burn. And when it comes to late game, I think it's a really interesting discussion because Fiora exists in this game, and she is always a late game win condition. I find it so difficult to talk about scaling when she exists.
And the interesting thing there is that both teams engage, I think, is relatively lackluster as long as you can keep track of specifically the Poppy and maybe a Meiko hook, but especially looking at C9, it's quite a tough one. It's JJ.
Yeah, it was seen on vision there, but the Emperor's Fight is still going to land. Jensen holding onto his flash, uses it now. Blaber in position. Can he stop this? As the gravity field's fantastic defensively. Wind becomes lightning. JJ, oh no, auto attack was cancelled. Could be in trouble, but Jensen is likely to go down first. There is first blood to the EDG mid laner, and Meiko has made his way up, waste no time. Instant flash, and that's a double.
And it almost was there for the side of Cloud9. Jensen able to escape, but sadly Blaber not able to finish off the kill. Scout able to go for the turnaround, and great 2-0 start for EDG.
And we talk about this being... It starts slow, and all of a sudden, what looks like initially, I think, quite a nice setup here with Jensen getting shoved back. He stays alive for a really long time. JJ crucially doesn't find the wall. And then Blaber comes in and you're thinking, he's done it.
Yeah, it looks like he had it. W does connect, and then not able to go through in the end because of the ward going down. Scout the whole time, though, was just hammering away on Jensen. Flandre making his way down. You can see in the mid lane, even Meiko had the roam over because they had pushed, and they commit so much to get this kill coming through. I like that Flandre did hold on to his flash, though, so we'll be able to keep up with that one. And again, now EDG in such a great spot. When we were hitting on earlier, one of the plays you have available with the Azir once you get post 6 is what we saw them do, right? Go for the Empress Divide, throw Jensen in. Jensen now not having flash up, Scout still holds on to his, and now already making his way to a lost chapter.
This game has all of a sudden become a lot more difficult for Cloud9. However, this dragon should be going their way. Cloud9 with the Cloud Drake, very fitting. And that will be taken down. Success. So, next one going to be an Infernal. I would hazard a guess that we're going to get Hextech as the final soul. Anyone who agreed with me with the fact that Cloud Drake will be killed the most here at Worlds, I apologize wholeheartedly for suggesting it.
Oh yeah, I fell for that one.
Hextech is destroying right now. It was very, very difficult to deal with.
I think because Flowers did the same thing, and he had great logic that either it is and he is right, therefore he wins, or it is not, but I'll pause.
Yeah, there is a fight. There is going to be an Empress Divide in the mid lane, actually. Oh, I love that! Scout picks up his third. Oh man, EDG off to the races and then some.
And this is exactly what we were talking about with that Viktor into Azir matchup. They know Jensen's flash is down, so every single time, Scout just shoves in the wave, says, hey, guys, free kill, and they take down the Viktor.
I also love the move from Flandre because I think Flandre looks his best when you're just able to push the wave and kind of have an uninteractive laning phase and look to supplement his team.
Okay.
Flandre, great team player. We saw there able to make his way towards the mid lane. So hey, if he isn't locked in that 1v1 with Fudge, things are looking good.
And I mean, I joke because we have some players like that in the LCK as well that like to skip lane, but it's the, I think, map play that EDG is showing here and finding early proactive leads for a team that I think by default is expected to do exceptionally well once we get to the later stage of the game, especially with this draft, is looking a bit rough for C9.
I also find it very strange that we don't see that more often. The use of the Emperor's Divide and then the heroic charge to do that Albus Nox Luna, as I like to call it, as they did many, many years ago with the Anivia wall.
It's a throwback.
It does the same thing, but just not using that opportunity. Blaber trying to go for Flandre here, who's still sitting on flash. Umbral Dash also there as well, as they do have vision on the Xin Zhao as he clears out that ward. And C9 just going to clear up this top wave. It looks like they're out of the woods for now. Yeah,
Blaber trying to find the opportunity, but I mean, with the amount of control that EDG have, it just feels so hard. You see a good amount of vision in River right now, and for C9, it feels like you kind of have to just end up giving up this Herald and playing for some of those first items to come out. We already hit on a win condition for C9 could be something like once we get Gale Force on Berserker, playmaking potentials there. We know once Fudge gets his Mythic as well, he'll be doing incredibly well in this top lane matchup.
Yeah, EDG not having to invest anything bot side in order to get their Rift Herald, so everything working out very, very nicely. Being able to just have 3 people take away the Rift Herald, utilizing all of this tempo that they have. Empress Divide, there it is, one more time, and we get it again! JJ's just having a great time here as, oh, Blaber comes in, will punish, picks up the shutdown as well as Meiko's here. So not going to be able to get a next
Zven,
that, but there is a Lantern, takes the ride to get out.
I thought the Kench was going to do it. Saw him waddle up. But this is, again, EDG just playing a textbook game. As Viper gonna get chunked, but Berserker not having enough damage. And I think specifically with champions like Azir, that even into something like Viktor with a lot of wave clear, you get a big lead, your poke becomes so oppressive. So with the early Mythic, now Jensen is just continuously forced underneath his turret, and that makes it so much easier for EDG to play the rest of the map as Fudge.
Flandre chasing him down. Grand Challenge is going to be issued, and Fudge just gets himself out of there. So, does have to use his R button, but holds onto the flash. Should be absolutely fine. As we check this one out one more time. Really good for C9 to be able to actually get that shot down.
Man, I just want to know what Jensen did to them. Like, the fact that they keep finding the repeat play feels so bad. Blaber, though, throws out the W, then follows up with the flash to be able to connect, is able to get the kill across. But, I mean, EDG in such a dominant position, and interestingly enough, it not coming from their bot lane. Yesterday, they weren't able to leverage that strength going against T1, and then once again today, opting into scaling and playing more through their top side.
I'm a glass half full kind of guy. At least with that shutdown going to Blaber, the gold is not looking too bad. I thought it was
under 1,000?
I thought it was going to be worse. They have a Drake lead as well. There's an angle there.
Objectives are extraordinarily important. I agree with you, New York. I reckon C9's definitely still in with a decent shot. They just have to contend with Scout here in this mid lane, who is very, very powerful as this Azir. Also now picking up some plates for himself. And so it's only going to go from bad to worse as far as that particular matchup is concerned.
Yeah, and for EDG, just to say that the game right now in general, it feels like the biggest difference is just the amount of vision control EDG should be able to keep up with Blaber.
Yeah.
Gonna look for an opportunity mid.
Wrapping around already. No flash on Scout, but shifting sands is going to mean that C9 don't really have an avenue to get onto Scout right now. Flandre also roaming down as per usual, getting into position.
I just love how much Flandre is out on the map, right? Every single time he moves over, and that means that at the very least C9 needs to respond. Either Blaber needs to delay his clear a little bit, needs to make sure that he keeps Jensen covered, because even with the flash now still available, it takes one shuffle from Scout to get rid of that, and then you can get 2 or 3 more ganks in, like we've seen in the last couple of minutes, and it becomes very, very tough for C9 to kind of keep that mid lane alive.
Yeah, and I'm just so happy that Flandre, I can just go back to what I knew of Flandre, like, what, 5 years ago when I was an LPL caster, because it's just, he's exactly the same. Just plays for the rest of his team, did that on Snake as well, and now seems to be continuing. Am I right, Lyric? I don't know.
I mean, he just has been such a great team player all year long, and even like what he's doing, right? Even when he's not making his way down to mid, if he's playing off in Fog of War, it opens up to where EDG can start making these plays. C9 are constantly guessing, hey, where's the Aatrox gonna be? And it prevents them from really being able to force their way into either mid or towards the spot side, because they're always scared that they're gonna be at a numbers disadvantage.
Well, we are Abyssal diving forward. The hook is going to be there to greet him, but Meiko now going to back away. Moonlight Vigil comes down. Berserker getting some damage in. Severum at the ready. Sven has to flash out, but does manage to do so. Emperor's Divide slides in, and Scout picks up his 5th of the game. Viper now getting a kill for himself, and EDG with all the kills on their late game carries.
And it was said earlier on the desk, oh, that's not what you want to see. Overall, I do think the death of Poppy greatly exaggerated, because I've seen so many of these plays in the entirety of summer. Poppy setting up, isolating one target, knocking away someone else, and it makes it so much harder to actually get anything done in an early team fight.
Yeah, I mean, just it not being able to come together for C9. And again, I like that they're still looking to make things happen, because despite the fact that they do have things like the Fiora and the Viktor, it feels like the later it goes, it can be quite rough just because of the formation that EDG's teamfight has with the amount of disengage able to come through, and even them having things like the Thresh hook to be able to start fights on their own terms. But, I mean, it feels like at this point, there's just too much control of mid. Too much control of mid coming out from EDG.
Absolutely, and also in that last moment, the fact that now Viper getting himself a kill, getting himself to a position where this Jinx is going to be online a little bit earlier. Just to let you know, guys, we will be keeping you updated as much as possible as to what happened as far as this pause. Right now, I will divulge, I have absolutely no idea what happened in order to start this pause off, but if we do find anything out, believe me, you will find out as soon as possible. I think, is it a Thresh thing? Because, you know, the last pause we had, there was a Thresh involved. Do we blame Thresh entirely for this whole situation?
I actually find it very interesting that every region has their own memes surrounding pauses.
Oh, yeah.
Because the LC, we feel like the LCK pause. Obviously, we are like, yeah, that's classic.
I actually feel like this is making us feel more at home.
Well, it is. Oh, yeah, for sure. Oh, I'm feeling very comfortable right now.
Look, I gotta say, we actually don't have a pause meme in the LPL.
Okay.
But I'm happy to get to feel like one of the boys.
Aww.
You already wore. Look at your fantastic hair.
Because on the other end, obviously, we have the Fnatic pause, I think, which is also very notorious. And if I'm not mistaken, I remember Vulcan tweeting about pauses to a great extent as well. So I guess every region besides the LPL, but it's okay, Jordan. Right now, you're a part of our desk.
Yeah,
That's okay.
We can teach you the way of the pause. It's absolutely fine. We, in fact, made an entire video for our...
We did.
Not our last finals, but the finals before, just in case there was a pause. There wasn't actually a pause, which was very unfortunate because we did have this video prepared. I learned how to say pause in Dutch because we were told that we should probably do that.
You did a good job.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
You're very good at the Dutch accent. I wonder why.
I wonder why.
Fascinating. But we still haven't figured out why this pause exists right now. Normally, I peer over to see, you know, who's getting the attention, but I can't actually see it from here. It's a little bit unfortunate.
It's tough. I'm not getting any intel from my angle, and I think I have the best view of the stage. So we'll just, you know, as we do. Normally in the LCK, the conversation would have completely derailed, but fortunately,
I was kind of expecting, you know, Pokemon or...
You're here to keep us
I don't really
honest.
know. I don't really know where
We
you
need
guys
to-
go these days.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit different when it's the world's broadcast. We want to make sure that we keep it as serious as possible.
Yes.
Just like our serious matching haircuts that we have right here on the desk right now. But as far as this game goes, I think that it's probably good that C9 get a little bit of a mental reset here. And even though they can't discuss any strategy for the game or anything like that, being able to take a bit of a mental step back and then trying to make the most of what is a pretty uncomfortable situation, even though we're still within touching distance gold-wise, it's just looking at sort of the state of the game that can be the problem.
And going back to the game for a little bit, even though, as we often joke, in the LCK we don't always. What I want to highlight here for C9 is that if they are playing from a large deficit, combat mechanics are hard to find. Ideally, you'd look at like a really big engage angle or a wombo combo or something of the sorts, but engaging onto the EDG comp is a nightmare. There is Poppy with her W, with her ultimate. There is Scout, who we've already seen, is very happy to scoop whomever comes near him. And then the Thresh adds so much layer of defense. Really tough to get anything done.
Yeah, there is a lot of disengage. But gentlemen, I'm going to have to stop you there because while we continue investigating this pause, we'll be heading over to the State Farm analyst desk to break down what we have of this game so far.
Thank you very much, Atlas. We're back. Another pause. I don't know how many of you know this, a little behind the scenes bit of info. Vedius really likes screen time. So basically what happens is, yeah, he hits up league officials. He says, I've got something to say. I'm going to need you to pause this game so I can get up there and espouse some knowledge.
So now you put me on the spot because now it's like, Vedius,
you have
what
no
is it
knowledge?
that you want to say?
Oh.
I'm like, well, everyone, hello, I'm Welsh. I speak another language. Also, Cloud9 is, in fact, getting obliterated right now.
Yeah. Unrelated research I was just doing.
Okay.
Unrelated?
Yeah.
I love it. We're already off the rails.
Yeah.
Took us 30 seconds.
It's a little related.
Okay.
The worst NA has done at group stage.
Oh, we're going there.
No.
Okay.
I asked this question. I asked this question in the green room, right? Is that
I think a lot of people-
play was going badly?
I think what a lot of people at least want to know
Yeah, of course.
I mean, I guess so.
is 5 and 13.
5 and 13.
5 and 13.
Yeah.
When was that?
This was 2019.
2019.
I will say they were not the worst, though. At the time, LMS had 3 regions in the group stage, and they went 3 and 15. So the worst a 3-region team in
Or a
group
3-team
stage has done
region, rather.
is 3 and 15.
Okay.
So this game is still winnable.
Still
for
winnable,
Cloud9,
but looking scary.
I mean, hugely in favor of EDG, which we can talk about depending on how long this delay is.
Yeah.
But yeah, Vedi is doing some quick math. Dash has an update.
Yeah, speaking of, I'll give you the real update on why it is. We're sitting in a pause. Tournament officials are investigating currently, but Viper is experiencing an in-game issue, and so it is a problem on the EDG side. We're going to go ahead and get that resolved as quickly as possible. Once I have more information, I will update you all at home a little bit more. Vedius, you're doing some quick math?
he's doing some
or
quick
what's
math.
going on
I was
here?
literally writing
So-
down 5:13.
Oh,
Yeah.
even
And
not doing any math.
I wasn't doing any. I was just. I was
Just writing it down, taking notes.
Yeah, I was
Taking notes. That was
So-
MSI, my friend. Take notes.
Wait, that was MSI? I thought that was Worlds.
No. That was the slogan.
Oh, yeah,
for MSI was
you
take
got
notes.
me.
How did you forget that already? Come on.
Quick maths.
Yeah, do
There's
it.
a lot of games left.
Yeah.
So the worst NA has done is 5 and 13. They're currently 0-4, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
So you need 9 more losses.
Which would then you'd have to be 5 and 9 to match it. And if they lose this one, it would still be 5 and 8, which is like super doable to not be the worst.
Okay.
Super. What sort of perspective is that?
Yeah.
Which is like, guys, I know it's bad, but.
So somewhat unironically, I will say in 2020, NA started really poorly. That was the 0-6 TSM year, but also TL started 0-2 and FlyQuest started 0-2. And literally every interview question any player ever faced was, man, why does NA suck so much? And like, why are you not winning, et cetera, et cetera.
All right, I got to jump in here because it's a shorter pause than we expected. Tournament officials have reviewed the footage, determined that the performance Viper was experiencing was within limits. They have informed the player who has accepted, and we are now resuming the game. Back over to you, Atlas.
Thank you so much, gentlemen. Fantastic that we got to give Vedius some screen time, especially when he's had such a great day today. And here we are, back with EDG versus C9. So, something seemed like it was going wrong for Viper, wasn't actually going wrong, or not going wrong enough, and we are now back in. And it didn't look like it was going very wrong. Like 1-0-1, Kraken Slayer completed. This Jinx is probably having a great time.
Yeah, for Viper in a really solid spot, especially because, again, he's going to be the big defining member. The later we go on the game, kind of going to be the highest range champion, especially once you get something like a rapid fire cannon coming on through. But I feel like the key thing is, right, we've had EDG sitting on item advantages for quite a long time. But now with things like Divine Sunder coming out in top lane, the Gale Force finally hit for Berserker, C9 potentially going to be able to start looking for angles. I feel like definitely going to need a cross map. We can already see EDG getting control of the bot side. With Blaber up towards top, Fudge heading there now, may be able to start looking at those plays.
Yeah, and the thing that I find really unfortunate here for C9 is that if EDG are able to just stack up Mountain Drakes, any sort of win condition just becomes so much more difficult. And yes, Fiora does some true damage and things like that, but there is just no way that you ever win a team fight against this team, no matter what happens, really. You start stacking them up. But Slow comes through here from the riposte. There's a grand challenge. The flash to come through it with the ulti from Blaber as Flandre is going to turn up. Scout just keeping his distance. Super Mega Death Rocket will be included, and Flandre locks down the C9 jungler, and now they're looking for even more. That Q hit for a lot more damage than I was expecting. And EDG will scare C9 away.
And it's an attempt from C9, but EDG turn it around. Unfortunately, killing a fed Azir with Summoner's Ultimate and Crown of the Shadow Queen. Great, Zven.
Yeah, that's the special delivery, and Meiko's the one that picks up the kill in the end. The Catfish, not exactly that tanky right now. Oh, flash does Meiko, and Flandre is gifted another one.
That was such a huge hook coming out for Meiko. Cloud9 just not being able to answer back, full control of top side. Junjia taking the Herald, and Berserker gonna do his best to look for bot.
And they don't want to say the desk went there, but I can say it now. C9's getting clapped. EDG just firing on all cylinders.
I reckon they could win Worlds. Oh, hang on.
Oh, hold up.
Very recently. Yeah, Scout, he was kicked back, and it was a cute play. It was a cute play from Blaber there to try, and of course, trying to get some kills on a Scout here is a smart idea, but this is, yeah, EDG too far ahead.
And it's one of the things where EDG were actually already rotating members up because Herald was the objective coming up on the map. I mean, Scout able to buy a lot of time, and then here, actually no time.
Well, if at first you don't succeed, try again, and this time bring more friends.
Oh.
I don't know whether it's Meiko! Save Scout's life! This Thresh has been everywhere this game!
Oh, this is just getting painful. Every time that C9 tried to get a collapse, Scout says, is that all you got?
NA, I am sorry, but it looks like T1 pissed EDG off yesterday, and they are taking it out on Cloud9.
Oh, they absolutely are. And also, Meiko is showing Carrier what to do. Like, this Thresh play is definitely the best we've seen today.
Too soon, Atlas, too soon.
I had to do it otherwise.
Oh, no, you're right.
Super Mega Death Rocket is going to sail by majestically. Picked up by Jensen here on his way out of the fountain. He's going to just gets a Band-Aid. Goes back to Boris. Purchases a Band-Aid. He's going to be absolutely fine. Then he's going to get out onto the Summoner's Rift, and it's not going to be as fine unless C9 can find themselves some sort of miracle here. JJ stealing away this blue buff, giving it over to Scout, who has had just everything. Shadow Flame now completed, and Azir, man, he is just doing wonders. I swear, this top side of the map, the Aatrox, Poppy, Azir, it's unbeatable.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we're going to see.
Unless it was yesterday.
This is going to start. I mean, you know, maybe the Senna Singe not to play, but for EDG, you just cannot let Scout have this champion in my mind. Performing so well on it here in today's game. And honestly, being a full item up over Jensen in the mid lane, we just saw them drop the Herald, so getting even further ahead in gold, it sets them up for the pressure with C9 being pushed in to start up the Drake.
And as far as Dragons go, if it wasn't hard enough for C9, with Fudge being very far behind, their composition having a really tough time in general playing against the extreme range that is available from EDG, and them having a relative lack of hard engage, they're also stacking Mountain Dragons. Yeah. And if you thought EDG had leeway before, if you get a couple of those, actually killing someone who's caught inside is just going to become impossible.
No, Fiora does true damage, Chronicler.
Yeah, that's good. It's a good point. I didn't consider that. Thanks, Atlas.
I just need to provide. I need to provide as much hopium as possible here because it's very difficult to find.
Yeah.
At this position in the game, we're about to crest the 20-minute mark. EDG, couple of dragons and a 6,000 gold lead, and on top of that, like you say, just a teamfight composition that is looking extraordinarily powerful with where the money is and how the map has been set up at this point in time. Meiko comes on over. Zven not going to have a long enough tongue to dissuade the Thresh from clearing out that ward, and Viper happily clearing up minions here in this mid lane.
And I actually really like the way that EDG are playing this, right? Scalping on the Azir is very safe to push outsides, keep Viper in mid, and then kind of have JJ and Meiko as this two-man core roaming back and forth, making sure if C9 do look for picks on side is kind of the only option even potentially available, that you have them there to shadow and match, and then make it so like every other play we've seen, right, goes in EDG's favor, but also giving Viper some safety in mid lane. And Flandre now, having the death stance, I mean, you guys already hit on things like the Mountain Dragons already starting to come out. Feels like he's just going to have the better time in the 1v1 against Fudge.
And now with EDG also trying to choke out Vision as much as they can around the Baron Pit for C9 is going to be even worse because, especially if you can get the Jinx and the Azir both towards the objective, you can take it very, very quickly. And for C9, you have two choices. Either try to walk through fog into an EDG, which seems like kind of a disaster. And even if you do get there, is JJ going to have his ult? Are you actually going to be able to find an angle in as it's found?
Yeah, Zven going to be able to walk this one off, but this turret is going down extraordinarily quickly as soon as EDG get on over there. Another hook will connect. Berserker's going to get consumed. But the knock-up's still going to connect. Meiko's going to get answered. C9, have they found it? Grand challenge is issued. Viper's in trouble. The ult's going to come through. Gets rid of the Fiora for now. And now Flandre's found his angle. Blaber just tries to turn it around. Berserker creating space in the Aphelios. He's alive. Didn't even need the Gale Force to finish him off. And now EDG are on the run. I have no idea how C9 managed to find that.
EDG slightly overstepped. The knockup comes out from Zven. Fudge able to make his way into the fight. And then honestly, Flandre kind of going in by himself, kind of misjudging how much damage he'd be able to get onto Berserker.
And crucially, at the beginning of that, Flandre was making his way over. He felt good. Look at him. He's getting a free turret inside. And initially, it looks like Meiko, he is just looking. But the moment he goes down after the ultimate from Berserker, that's where C9, and credit to them, smell the weakness. Without the Aatrox there is a definite possibility you are a man up, but with Meiko already being down. And Flandre, as you pointed out, going in basically alone, doesn't find the backline, doesn't find the resets, and goes down.
Yeah, and the riposte was absolutely fantastic from Fudge as well. Not only did he avoid all of the damage, but managed to keep the Aatrox still for long enough for Berserker to just kill him. Really fantastic play here from C9, but they're going to need more of that. They're going to come back in this.
And, you know, looking at it, right, doesn't really change the state of the game, but the fact that members of C9 now able to hit 2 items, Fudge now able to pick up the Hydra, we can see Bloodthirster now picked up from Berserker as well, definitely hitting some of those key mid-game spikes is Blaber.
Hook's going to land. Chompers not going to activate, though, so the Xin Zhao will be able to make his way out. And gets on over, we'll clear out some Krugs, and otherwise everything is going to be fine. And I think Zven is going to be so important here for C9. You saw already that the Devour, very, very powerful in these fights. If someone gets hooked, if someone gets engaged on, and that could be a way that C9 find this miracle that we're looking for. Keeper's Verdict going to get charged, but just JJ being a bit of a helicopter, zoning the rest of C9 away as the inner turret is going to get taken. Blaber may have stepped a little bit too far forward, but thankfully the Poppy not quite fast enough.
Really liking the Bloodthirst here from Berserker as well. Playing into Viper now with the rapid fire cannon finished, as well as Scout, who obviously very fed, has been the entire game. The additional sustain means that you're actually able to stay in fights as long as you can get a wave, find a jungle camp, or at least get something. And that might give C9 another angle. I do think that as more dragons are going to start coming through, opportunities like they just had are going to be so much harder to find.
Exactly, and I do feel like EDG are going to need to be a bit tempered, because if they keep looking for those pick potential themselves, right, Meiko going in for the hook, Scout dashing in, trying to find the Emperor's Divide under C9's turrets in like their comfort zone, it's going to set up opportunities for C9 to find those picks. But if EDG just play for things like the neutrals, it's so hard for C9 to walk into the comp that EDG have.
And with the control that EDG have of the map as well, it isn't really an opportunity for C9 to go for a steal. As Blaber, he's just going to walk it.
Yeah.
EDG, a little spread thin.
Apparently, if you just walk up to the pit, that's how you manage to steal it, as Riposte is still going to be able to find a bit of a stun there, as another ult's going to get channeled, but JJ is going to cancel it. Now the rest of EDG will join. So, EDG looking to lock down Salt Point. Hook is going to connect, but there's another Devour for Zven. All right, the Poppy's going to be able to take down the Drake, but can they win the teamfight is the question this time. Flandre once again going to get stunned up. The hook will connect, and it's going to be Fudge punished this time around.
And honestly, it looked a bit dicey for EDG, like they didn't expect C9 to contest, but still EDG able to make the turnaround. Meiko once again finds the hook, and it looks like Baron's on the cards for Edward Gaming.
All they needed was Scout's teleports, and yeah, initially, as you pointed out, Atlas, Blaber just walks up and is like, what's going on? Are we gonna, where is everybody? Am I gonna get this dragon? But response from EDG is immediate. And now Blaber does have smite, does have flash, but no, not happening.
Keeper's verdict is going to evict the Xin Zhao. That means yet another smite is very, very comfortable here for the Poppy. Going to be able to secure it. Secret Agent Poppy to secure both of them, one after the other. Let's check out this fight one more time. This hook, just amazing from Meiko.
Yeah, great from Meiko. Forces out the ultimate to come from Zven, but C9 feeling desperate, look for the engage. A fair amount of damage actually done by Jensen and Berserker at first with the burst, but this hook on Meiko, Riposte was already down, and just allows for the pick on Fudge to come through.
Yeah, picking the juke yet again. Pulls off what I like to call the bunny foo-foo in the top lane. For that first one, that is a callback to 2014. I'm not allowed to do that, I don't think, but he did make a play very, very similar. And then being able to do it one more time, picking the juke against Fudge there around that Dragon Pit. Certainly Meiko having a fantastic game here on this Thresh.
And it's nice to see, because even though I think Meiko was actually one of the supports who could function in the Enchanter meta, still looks so much better when he is on these engaged champions with the setup, with how decisive he is in finding these opportunities. And the mechanics today have just been on point.
He's just looking incredible, and I'd say, barring that one mistake where they got a little bit over-enthusiastic, EDG as a whole has just looked a very far distance removed away from C9, who, again, went for a draft. I think it was better than yesterday. There were a little bit more opportunities, but with how the early game went, none of them came to fruition. And they're on the verge of going down 0-2 here. We're going to need to see a really big adaptation, because otherwise, I think they might keep running into the same trouble.
Yeah, and ever since that slight overextension, you've noticed the complete change in the play from EDG. It's like they found the line, and they're like, all right, we don't step over that one again. And we just...
We respect it.
Yep, very calmly and collectedly cross some I's and dot some T's. Hook's going to connect, yet again, denied by the Devour. But that is a long cooldown that now won't be available. Also, not going to be able to get any value out of the huge shield that you pick up from that one as well. As Scout just happily chilling inside C9's base right here. And EDG just looking to knock this one down. C9 don't seem to have any sort of answer at this stage. And oh man, these rockets are really starting to do some work. Viper, I feel like it's too early for the Jinx to really be online right now, but he is starting to do a whole lot of damage. Now, those autos are going to come through. Sidesteps on the Riposte. Super Mega Death Rocket will be exactly that. He gets excited, but the Crescent Guard's pretty good there from Blaber, just not quite eventuating to too much. Jensen picks up that one kill. There's the Emperor's Divide to just sweep up Berserker. And now C9, the ace, I think is going to get completed, as the 2021 World Champions will claim their first Nexus of the group stage. C9 denied this time around, but man, EDG just looking dominant this game.
Great bounce back from their loss yesterday. Looks like they came in with a plan. Punish mid lane over lands over and over, and you know, it just keeps going with how much they were putting into the mid lane, and then they just never let go of the control that they found.
And when the Viktor was locked in, we mentioned it, maybe they'll go for that. Well, they did. What was it, 4, 5 times in a row?
Yeah.
Some of them, Jensen was able to stay alive, but most of the times just didn't quite work out.
Meiko looking a bit awkward on how to... there we go.
Yeah,
Okay, everything's resolved peacefully.
Not intentional. I was a little bit of a worry there for a second, but bit of patience and they got there. EDG take a well-deserved bow after an absolutely amazing performance, especially that gentleman standing in the middle. Whoa. Scout just dominant, and also the great escapes all game long.